Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional 9-dom. Today I'm going to be looking at a game from the Globus Cup. The Globus Cup is a tournament for players under 20 years of age. And until this year, no Western amateur had beaten an Asian pro. So today's game is between Kevin Yang, representing America, and Nishimura Jin, a Japanese professional. The game was played on June 4th of 2022. Okay, and the time controls for this game are like NHK, so that's 30 seconds for each move and 10 periods of 1 minute extra time. Okay, so Kevin has black. He's an amateur at the time of this game, although later the same year he became a professional. Okay. So here we have an almost symmetrical shape, very similar at least, and white changed it a little bit. So white could have played here. This would have also been a reasonable move, but white seems to be trying to make the shape slightly different. So that's nothing wrong up to this point, and black plays Kakari. And so if white had played here, it would have been as if they had mimicked each other's moves. So instead, white played this move, and black played here. So this was the first unusual move of this game. And well, usually black would play double Kakari here, and white would have a number of choices. So it would be probably a joseki that you've seen before if white played here or here. There's a lot of choices white has in this case also. When black plays here, white has a bit more room and even more leeway as to how white wants to play. The game move, though, it seems a bit, it does make it easy for black. So I would not have chosen this move. White has choices of this move, for instance, which would be more active towards the stone on the side, or this move, which would be splitting the two black groups. It does get very complicated since it's an unusual joseki and it sort of goes off the map. So it would be something you haven't seen. If I was looking for a relatively straightforward way to play, I would play here to stop black from getting into the corner and just spend 2 moves to make a solid corner here. This would be looking at the poking out here, and it would develop into a side fight. So black would take white space here, and both groups would be moving out towards the center. So both sides would have fairly weak groups here. White's corner would be very solid, and it would be about even. So that's how I would have played. In the game, white played here, and black slided. So this was taking the corner territory, a very big move. I like this move. And white added the stone. So black is already alive in the corner. And well, I would be happy with black, but it's pretty close. It's not as if it's a big difference. And so now black plays a pincer on the top. So this is the most important side. I'd say black had a choice of kicking first, and then maybe playing somewhere a bit closer to the left. Or playing this move. This move is also one of the choices that black had. And white played the attachment and the double hane. So in the game, black played here. And this, for a long time, this has been just about the only joseki that we played in this against the double hane that white has just played. Nowadays, people play different moves. So sometimes you see this one, sometimes you see this one. In this board position, actually, playing here to put more pressure on white, it might have been the best move. If we look at one fairly common joseki here, this shape, where black is taking the corner territory and taking away white's space. So it would develop into a running fight again. So again, it would be this black group running out, sort of similar to what I was showing before on the bottom side. And white also has a weak group. So the two groups would be weak, and this group would have to connect up to somewhere. I'd say the fight is slightly easier for black, because black does have forcing moves on the left here, like the push. So that would be the modern way of playing. This move is, one might say, this is the old-fashioned way of playing. And if white continues by connecting underneath, then black will play here. So this is the old joseki, and black does have a stone in a nice place pincering white. So black would be able to peep once and then play, for instance, an extension here. So black's pincer would be working well in this case. In the game, white cut in the corner, and this is also a joseki. Black extends to not only 2 but 3 stones before pushing through. So by extending to 3 stones, black did establish an extra Atari here, which sometimes that comes in handy. And black played here. And white played here. So if we look at the upper left and the lower right corners, we still have a fairly similar shape here. It's the same shape. And so just to judge the overall position, we can look at the other positions which are not the same. So white has a territory in the corner here, and it's very close, very similar to the black territory here. I'd say white has maybe a point or so more, but it's almost about the same size. So we can call these to the same amount of territory. And if we look at the top side for black and this side, black does have a bit more space. And so if I were playing with black, I would be happy enough with this beginning. It's black's turn at this point. But we do have to remember that there's a 6.5 point komi. So black has to pay the komi. It makes it a very close game. So black slides here, putting pressure on the white group. And white pressed. And black pushes through and cuts. So this is a very active move, a strong attack against white. So normally you would expect black to be doing something like this, and white would extend here. And with this move, white is looking at, for instance, this and a cut on the second line. So white does have this to look forward to. So that's the meaning of white's move, and black countered with this strong attack. And extended here. So if white had just played an Atari, then black would have captured the one stone here, and also black is surrounding the top side. So this is working for black. So white countered with this, attacking black's group in the corner a bit. And black connected underneath. So this was, you might say it was a safe move, but it was a bit weak. So this was a point where black had the opportunity to play on top here. And white would push through. And white can escape here. But this will make for a much more heated fight, which in this case is going to be good for black. So both sides have rather bad shape. But the problem is more immediate for white when the upper left corner gets surrounded like this. And also, the fact that black got to squeeze here to get a solid connection is actually fairly important. So I'm going to get into that now. The squeeze here is very important in giving black a good shape on the left side of the board. So why do I say that? In the game, black simply played here. And this presented white with an opportunity. So white should have immediately played here. And this would have been a way for white to take back the corner. So how this works, if black for instance, if black bumps against white here, white can push through here, and black does have a problem in the corner. So this would break through, and it would be successful for white. So this is clearly very bad for black on the left side of the board. So that side getting into trouble would be bad for black. If black plays here, white can cut here. And again, there is the push on the third line, which will cut black off. So if white can cut black off there, then white's potential profit on the left side is important enough that white can afford being in a bit of trouble on the top. So black has to answer like this. So this is how black would answer it, and white would immediately play here to take back the corner territory. So this corner territory is very important. If black answers this, for instance like this, white can play here. So this point at 6-3 and capturing the black stone in the corner are miai. And it means that the white group is already alive. So if this white group is alive while taking the corner territory, that's very efficient. And white doesn't even have to worry about these two stones each on the outside. They're not important really as far as making territory. If you look at this area, black doesn't really have very much space to build a territory by capturing these two stones. It's not as if there's going to be a big black territory here because the white thickness is going to be in the way. So it was best for white to take the corner. I think this would have been a good result for white. In the game, white played here, and it was good that black just sacrificed these stones. So black played on this side, white captured the two stones, and black played here. So black is playing on both sides, taking most of the side territory, and having a fairly good position on this side. And so it's okay for black to allow white to capture these two stones. In fact, I would say this was a success for black. The meaning of this final move that black played, for instance, this would be a good point. I would say black didn't want white to play here. So if white plays here, there's this cut on the second line. There's going to be a problem again. So black has to be careful of that. And it would give white an opportunity to start building in this general area. So that's why black played here. For that reason, I would say it's a reasonable move. But white did get to slide. And so this is going well for black, but it's still a very subtle difference. With a 6.5 point komi, white can afford to be behind. So to say, is on the board, white can afford to be behind. So it's the same position here. In this case, white did not push through and cut, but instead played here and pushed. And so moving out towards the center, white does have the potential to reduce black's potential area here. So that's pretty important. Also, white should be looking at a chance to play here and cut this black stone off. So that's another thing that white might be considering. Black plays here. And white played the key point. So this is an important point in the game where black could have played a move such as this to connect up, but it would have been slightly painful. And so it was actually a very an interesting, an effective move for black to play here. So black played here despite the fact that the ladder favors white. And when white took on a ladder, it gave black the opportunity to take a position on the side. So in this trade, black is actually taking away some side territory that was looking like it was going to be white's. So black is gaining some territory on this side and losing points towards, potentially losing points towards the center. So black has these weak stones that are going to be a liability, but has taken the cash first. And I'd say that the fact that the whole group running away would be a liability anyway. So it's a reasonable strategy for black to be taking the side here. It's a real profit. But pushing here was not a very good shape. I mean, even if white had extended, it wouldn't be the best of shapes. The shape here is to play here. And if white pushes from this side, then black can push through here and a double Atari or the cut on the fourth line. So that's easy enough for black. Or maybe it isn't. It would be bad even if white pulls back though, because black would be able to play here. And black does have to be careful of the shortage of liberty. So black would probably play something like this and allow white to connect. But this would be reasonable. White would be putting another stone in, and black's already alive on the side. So this would be a good result. We have to be careful not to play this one, because it would be a snapback. So luckily I didn't fall into that trap. Otherwise, if white plays from this side, it looks like white can cut black. But this would be bad too. So after playing the Atari here, it doesn't really matter what black does, because black's already alive on the side, and black could play something like this. So it should be fairly obvious that white hasn't gained very much in this trade. In the game, white covered here. So black cut. And here I'd say white made his first serious mistake of the game. Because when white pulled back here, this gave black the opportunity to push here. And because of the open liberty here, the cut here is not immediately forcing. So black would be able to play something on this side, and there would be a threat of pushing through and cutting off the white stones. And so white would be in a bad situation on the other side, even if black just squeezed with a net. So white protected here, and the fact that the cut here was late, you might say, and white had to play one protective move, it made a real difference. So for instance, if we do the same thing with white filling the liberty here, and in this case black, one might say black can't do it, but if black does this, in this case white can cut here, and with the threat of the snapback again. So there's this snapback waiting to happen, and these would be key stones. They would be the cutting stones. So black can't afford to let white do this. Black would have to protect here, and so the cut would be sente, and white would be able to. Let's give black one Atari maybe. But even if black plays the Atari, white will be able to cut here. And the whole black group is in trouble in this variation. So this would be good for white. Otherwise, if black plays something like this, since black cannot break through here, black might play an Atari from this side. But the whole black group here is in danger. So if white plays something like this, or even if white just peeps and crawls, this is going to be a very painful attempt to live for black. So black doesn't want to get into this fight. It means that black has to add a stone like this, or actually in a similar position the game move was here. So we can use Kevin's move. And white's going to be able to attack these stones on a larger scale. And white's group on the other side is still stronger than these three black stones. So in both ways, this is good for white. Like white is in good shape on both sides. So it was very important for white to fill the liberty here, so to stop black from breaking through. In the game, white pulled back. And so this move, there was one extra move that was defensive that white was forced to play, and it gave black an advantage. So black continued, let's see, maybe an Atari once. Yes. And then here. So at this point, the game is looking good for black, but it's not determined yet. So I'd say that the next fight is going to be the decisive fight of this game. White continued with a cut here. This is threatening the group on the side again. Even if white plays here, it is in a bit of trouble. Or white can play from this side, probably more trouble this way. So black answered this way. So with this move, if white takes away black's eyes like this, black can probably get away with playing away at this point. So, but locally black might play here. So there's no danger for the black group after black plays here. And white curled around. So in this fight, a lot depends on the size of black's territory in this area. So that's going to decide the result of this game. And with this move, white is trying to attack these stones on a large scale. So for instance, if white had played here, it would be on a smaller scale, and maybe black would just be sacrificing and going ahead to surround this area. So when white curls around like this, the attack is on a larger scale. So white's threatening to play moves like this or like this to swallow up the whole group. So black extended. And with this exchange, white has taken away some forcing moves from black. So is still trying to attack these stones. And white continued with this move, which was a mistake. So I'd say this is one of the most decisive points in the game where black got an opportunity to finish the territory in the center here. So this was a very important part of the game. And white had to go a bit more deeply into black's area. So for instance, like this. This is actually a fairly safe move because white is going to play here next. And it already looks like white's connected up to the corner group or this side. So it's, for instance, we could have white play here. And even though black can play an Atari, white does have a connection underneath. So we could have black cutting white off on this side. White would still be able to connect underneath like this as a last resort. So black cannot, it's not even a ko because white can connect from this side. So an example of one way for white to connect. If black curls here, then white can play here. And with black's weak shape on this side, white's already pretty much connected. So this would be, it would be okay even if black captured the two stones. Just to show you that this is also a fairly important move that white wants to play at some time. If white gets an opportunity, this would also be a key point where white is looking at the cut here on the fourth line. So white does want to sort of dive in as deeply as possible. And if white had played here, black might try something different, but at the very least it would have been undecided, a very close game at this point. In the game, white was more focused on trying to attack the center, but with this stone helping and this strong group on this side, it didn't really work out. So we'll see how that turned out. So black is simply pushed and, oh yes, let's see. Oh yes, this exchange, excuse me, that wasn't there. So black has finished the whole territory here. And white is trying to attack black in the center. But it's not working. Actually, white has to save these two stones. And black is connected up. So for instance, there's some damizumari on this side. In the game, white played here, and black added a stone. So this simplified things. And then he played here. So that did simplify things. But it doesn't look like white could have saved, it doesn't look like white could have killed that group anyway. So for instance, if white had pushed through and cut, it doesn't really matter. Let's do it this way. So black can play here and push through. And if white plays here, it becomes a ladder. Like this. So white cannot cut there and does not really have a strong enough position to attack black. So white might try to set up this cut by playing a stone somewhere around here. But black does have this forcing move, and really the peep is usually forcing too, but black can do stuff like this. And it looks like black should be able to survive here. So this is an example of how black would try to live. And there is the fact that the whole white group, if black does get to play here, the whole white group is not alive yet. So in the game, white played here, and black peeped and jumped. So at this point, black does have a fairly safe advantage. Just a few points at this stage of the game, but he actually maintained it and expanded the lead. So black is ahead already, but actually he was winning by more at the end of the game. So the game did go on to, let's see, it was about 245 moves, and white resigned. At that point, there was a large difference in the score. So this was Kevin Yang's game against professional player Nishimura Jin, and he won in an even game with black. I suppose this was the first time in this tournament, so great achievement. So thank you for watching, and that's it for this game.